What would a whole life insurance policy designed for maximum cash value look like if you paid in X amount of dollars? Or what would it look like if you funded it up until the age of however long you'd like? Or maybe you'd like to see examples of what a policy looks like if you funded it at different amounts for 5 years, 10 years, up until age 65. What's it look like when I pull income from the policy? All these different things. Well, today we are going to answer a question from a YouTube viewer that really touches on a variety of scenarios, as we like to show a variety of scenarios. So the specific question, we're going to read it directly from the YouTube comment here. Here we go. We've got, I am self-employed. Really like the example of the guy that works for Uncle G. He's referring to Steve Spray. My question has been on the dividends and using them as an income source once I am retired. Good question. Here we go. If I'm 35 years old and if I put away $50,000 to $100,000 per year for 5 years, in 30 years, what sort of income can we expect? So he's specifically referring to how much income can we expect to pull from the policy on an annual basis 30 years down the road. So he's 35 years old now. When he's age 65, what it will look like from an income standpoint. But before we look at the income, we're going to look at just that in this video. Also a variety of samples in respect to how to maximize the cash value. But on that point, before we look at income, what does he mention on the funding? He's considering funding a policy for how long? For 5 years, anywhere between $50,000 and $100,000 per year. Now, that's a big range if I'm going to pay $50,000 or $100,000 per year into the product, and I'll let you know that how we design that policy can have a major impact on the cash value growth. So with respect to different samples that we'd look at, what I would look at first is a policy with $100,000 per year paid into the policy. This will be a policy with a $100,000 MEC limit, meaning the maximum I can get into it per year is $100K and no less, and no more. Then I would look at a policy with $50,000 per year going into the policy with a $50K MEC limit, meaning I've got the same thing but cut in half, where in this option, the maximum amount of money I can pay into the policy each year is $50,000, no more than that. But then I want to look at an option like this, $50K per year, funded for the same 5 years, but based on the same criteria as option 1. Meaning if this is you, pretend you're this 35-year-old individual. Option 1 is $100K per year for 5 years, and you're max funding it, meaning you've got a policy with a $10,000 base premium. You said, hey, I want the ability, not commitment, but ability to pay up to $100K per year. I've got my $10K base. I'm going to throw another $90K into PUAs, and my MEC limit is at $100,000. But then option 3 down here is where you take this policy, so it's the same policy with a $10,000 minimum premium, a $100,000 MEC limit, but you never get $100,000 into the policy. The most you ever get in is another $40,000 per year into PUAs for a total of $50K, which means if we could go back in time, we would have selected option 2 with $50K per year going into the policy, but with a $50,000 MEC limit. So what's valuable about a scenario like this, where we actually model it to see what would a policy look like if I plan to pay in a heavy dollar amount, $100,000 per year, but things don't go according to plan and I can only get in $50K, how much will it hurt me? That is what I like to see up front before putting money into a policy. So we're going to look at just that. Let's have some fun. We're going to look at some illustrations to validate the policy design first and foremost. So we're going to look at a couple companies. Here's one example with Guardian. So he's got how much going in this example. The first year total premium here, got it circled already, $100,000 per year going in. Now, this is a policy designed for maximum cash value, where this guy here is his actual minimum premium. So if you're ever looking at an illustration, here we see his premium, $9,000 and change. Then here, you've got your PUA rider, paid up additions rider, which we are just dumping right in the cash value. We do have a term insurance rider attached to this policy as well. That's what this guy is, this target additional benefit term. Here you go. A little over $500 per year. Now, initially, the cost goes down each year in this example as it is a one-year term insurance rider, and we've got plenty of content on that. But what I want to touch on here, his commitment is not $100,000 per year. Remember that he asked to see samples between $50,000 and $100,000 per year. So if I'm him, what I want to know here is this particular policy design has it set up where I'm committed really to these two guys each year. So the net commitment is just about $10,000, including the base premium and the term rider. And then I can plow funds into PUAs up to a total of $100,000 per year. But what we know about this particular design here is that it is set up for maximum cash value. Option 2, with the $50,000 per year going in, literally what we did was just cut everything in half. So the base premium was $4,500 and change. The death benefit down here, this $2.3 million, gives him a MEC limit of, guess what? $100,000. So that is the minimum death benefit needed in order to attain that $100,000 MEC limit. So really, based on the company's limits here, he wants the ability to pay in $100K per year for 5 years. Here we go. $100K per year for 5 years. Where's the money going? We have the base premium, $9,000 and change. Here's the net cash value right off the bat, about 84%, break even. Year 5 really in this example. But this is a policy designed for maximum cash value, call it a 10/90 split, technically a little bit more aggressive, but right around that 10/90 split range. Breaking even year 5. Pays nothing in thereafter, and the cash value continues to grow. After year 7, you see that death benefit decline there. What we did there are 2 things. 1, we cut the term insurance rider. That's no longer a cost. And then 2, we also illustrated a reduced paid up option, which chops the premium off altogether, often results in a death benefit reduction as well. Really what I like to refer to this is cutting the drag, meaning if I'm not paying the policy anymore, if I don't want to pay the premium, nothing at all, the reduced paid up option eliminates the premium. This way my dividends and interest do not need to pay it for me, but they can be kicked back into cash value. Very valuable, especially when you look at the guaranteed cash values. So that's one option. Let's look at option 2 here. So this guy, different company. This one's actually Mass Mutual. This is their 15-pay product. So we're going to show a number of options here. Here we've got $100,000 per year going in. Of that $100,000, just like the last example, where is the money going? Premium. So their 15-pay can be challenging to attain a true 10/90 split, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to find that base premium about 25%, right around that dollar figure, shows up in cash value in the first year. It's a limited pay product. So all it means is it's going to function almost identical to a true 10/90 split with a more traditional policy. And how you can see that, so there's the premium piece, but here's the net cash value. Right off the bat, you're at about 86%. The break-even point is between years 4 and 5. Now, as we look at the total death benefit over here, you're a little over $2 million. Where we came up with that net death benefit figure is the death benefit, again, has a direct relationship to this guy, underlying MEC limit on a life insurance policy. So we overinflated it a little bit in this example in the event that you want to continue to pay into the policy beyond 5 years or beyond 7 years in this example. But here we have a policy with a minimum premium, 16 and change, with the ability to pay up to $100,000 per year. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Here's the exact same policy, in a sense. There's your base premium, $16,000 and change. Design's identical here. I have the ability to go up to $100,000 per year. But now, life happens, and I only pay in $50K per year. So my cash value over here, net cash value, $37,000 and change right off the bat. When's my break even? Just about year 6, year 7, I'm positive. So specifically, this is a policy here where I'm only paying in $50,000, but I planned to pay in $100,000. And in a situation like this, one would feel, if only I could go back in time and start with a $50,000 maximum policy, cut my premium in half, and all of that good stuff. What many people aren't aware is if you're ever in a situation like this, where you bite off more than you can chew initially, we can decrease the base premium and decrease the MEC limit after the fact. That does take a couple eyes, or when I say a couple eyes, we want to review that a couple times before making that change to make sure we don't trigger a MEC, as that is possible. But it is possible to reduce the death benefit, reduce the base premium after the fact. That's additional info. So going back to this example, we said, all right, I should have went with $50K per year. That's why we look at that up front. We're here. Look at this. So same 15-pay product, but what we did here was cut everything in half. Now, my premium is not $16,000 and change, it's $8,000 and change. $50K per year going in. There's your cash value right off the bat. Breaking even between years 4 and 5. If we go back to the $100K per year model with the $100,000 MEC limit, what year did we break even? Between 4 and 5. Here, we're breaking even between 4 and 5 because the ratios are the same. We have the minimum premium in each example. Also, when we look at the MEC limit, there you go, just over $50,000. So we've got the detailed ledgers here, but let's look at everything side by side. Be a bit easier. There we go. So we'll begin with the Guardian sample. Option on the left, $100,000 per year for 5 years and a $100,000 MEC limit. So this is the first option where you have the ability to go up to $100K per year and you pay in $100K per year for 5 years. So here's exactly what he's doing. There you go. 5 years, $100,000 total. For 5 years, $500,000 total is total input. This is actually not exactly, but very, very similar to what Steve did to Steve Spray. And I only mention that. I would never share a client's information, but he talks about that openly on the podcast, and he's perfectly fine with us showing the information or sharing it in that respect. So you've got the $100K for 5 years. After that, pays nothing into the policy. Whereas this guy, let's put this in a different color, $50K for 5 years, but with what? The same $100,000 MEC limit. So these two are the exact same policy. And where you can tell is when you look at the death benefits on both options. So $2.3 million death benefit on both of them. What we don't have here is the $10,000 base premium. It's actually $9,000 and change, but you know what I mean? Identical base premium, identical death benefit. But here's the big difference. So first year cash value, you pay in $50,000, $37,500 shows up. When I look at the break-even point, it's delayed. This would technically be closer to a 20-80 split. As time passes, what's the impact? Well, that's not really fair because I only paid in $250K in this example. Whereas this guy, I paid in a total of $500,000. But we can see the impact here. I'm breaking even about a year later. Upfront cash value is hurt. Really what I want to compare it to, though, is this guy. So that in the far right, same $50K per year going in for 5 years, just like the middle column, but here's the difference. This guy, instead of a $10,000 base premium, has a $5,000 base premium. And here's really where you can tell right off the bat, there's your cash value. Immediately, I see more in the option on the far right, and the reason why is, again, I have a lower base premium, lesser insurance expense, more of my $50,000 is directed toward cash value. Break-even point is when? Not year 6, but year 5. As I look at the difference over time, let's look at age 50. 397, 416. So it's not huge, but there is a difference. So really the question I would ask here is, if I'm you, Mr. 35-year-old, and I'm looking at these different options, if I think I might want to pay up to $100,000 per year, then I want to go with the $100,000 MEC limit. However, as I look at these options and I'm just not sure, this option is the 100K MEC limit, but I don't get up to $100,000 per year. Ah, man, I wish I would have went with 50K, but really, how much does it cost me here? So by year 15, I've got about almost a $20,000 difference. So $20,000, you can view that in some respects as the cost. Was it worth the $20,000 hit? Was that worth having the ability to pay up to another 50K per year into the policy? If not, if you say, you know what, I'm just more comfortable with going to the 50K option, I know I can hit that each year, then that's the direction to go. If there's any chance you want more window room to throw more money into the policy, then going with a bit of a higher MEC limit may be the direction to go. Now, an argument that comes up sometimes, or a point that's sometimes raised, is, can I just go with the smaller policy and then open up another policy if I've got more money to add? The answer to that question is yes, you absolutely can, but to provide some awareness there, a big point or a big topic of buyer's remorse, where a lot of people feel like, oh man, I wish I would have done things differently, is what's the worst part about all of these policies? Right off the bat, first year. So if I go with the lower policy option, maximum of 50K per year, and I'm funding up to 50K per year, and then I go to take out another policy, I've got to go through the expenses again. Versus a policy where I've got more window room and I can add more money to, cut, 1, 2, 3. Versus a policy where I've got more window room and I can add more funds into PUAs into that existing policy that's already over the expenses. That puts me in a much better position in that respect. So that's where it's good to kind of weigh out those options. Let's look at the Mass Mutual options. So here's the same thing, but with that 15 pay product we looked at. What that means is you can pay into it for a maximum of 15 years. Here's the $100,000 MEC limit, just like that illustration represented, breaking even between years 4 and 5. Here's funding it at 50K per year for 5 years, but only with but still with a $100,000 MEC limit. So these two, option 1 and option 2, are the same policy, but I'm paying in less each year. 50, where I have the ability to go up to 100K per year. Why that death benefit is less, by the way, is because I have less money going into PUAs, meaning the death benefit is going to be pushed up by a lesser degree. PUAs do push your death benefit up if they're not going toward a 1-year term rider, which I know that can be technical. But then I've got, on the far right, same 15 pay product, but $50,000 per year going in with a $50,000 MEC limit. So what do you notice here? Break even between years 4 and 5, just like the example on the far right. Literally, everything is cut in half. So this is where it's nice to see different options. And also, what we like to show in cases like this is, what if you want the option to perhaps fund longer than 5 years? So here's additional options. This is a Whole Life 100 product where we show the same thing that you wanted to see. So for the 5-year funding, 100K per year for 5 years. This product, not quite as strong short term, breaking even right around year 6 in that example. But the big difference here is, if you want to keep on feeding the beast, pumping money into the policy, you can do so. So by year 5, you'll notice that the values are identical. I've paid in 500, I've got 484. The only difference here is assuming you're going to continue to pump in 100K per year through year 15. And if you said, you know what? What's it look like if I keep on going? Well, here's a sample. showing for 30 years. And the real fun part about this is you do not need to declare upfront how long you want to pay into it. The product selection is important there. The policy design initially is important, but that's the kind of stuff we explain up front. This way you can really set it up for maximum cash value from start to finish, really depending on how you want the policy structured, what you want to accomplish with it. So a lot of options there with respect to setting it up for maximum cash value and maximum flexibility. In all of these examples, if we go back to the policy design piece, you're not going to be billed each year for the full $50,000 or $100,000. You may be billed, but you can easily adjust it because you're only committed to whatever that base premium is, whether it's 10 or if it's 5K. That's the true minimum commitment while you are funding it. If you fund it at the max level for 5 years, that will still be due for a period of time, but you don't have to pay it, where the policy can easily pay for itself through dividends and interest, and then we can go back to that reduced paid up option where we chop the premium off altogether. So lastly, what was the latter part of his question? Income. What's it look like if I take income out down the road? So what we ran here are the three options with Guardian. So the same thing here, the different variations. Specifically, the 100K per year for 5 years with the 100K MEC limit, then the 50K per year for 5 years with the same $100,000 MEC limit. So this means he can pay in a total of 100K, but he's only paying in 50. And then on the far right, 50K per year, but with a $50,000 MEC limit. So now we're max funding it. And you can tell from the death benefits 1, and then second from the break-even point. You'll notice the max funded policies here with Guardian are both year 5, whereas the one where we bit off more than we can chew, I went too high on the MEC limit, I should have squeezed things down a bit, pushed out a year 6 instead, which is still not bad, but that's partly due to him being 35 in this example. He's younger, which is why it looks good here. But let's look at the income down the road. So here we ran income from age 65 through age 90. And what's interesting about this, it's really based on how much you've paid in. And he's starting at 35, so he's got a long runway before he starts to pull out income. This type of model would be much more impactful if he started at age 50 or 55 and was looking to pull income at age 65 or 70. Then you would see a big difference in design becomes more and more important. But here is the example where we paid in 100K per year for 5 years. And what we're doing here is first withdrawing up to his cost basis, 500K, and then beginning to take out loans or loan out the rest without paying any interest, nothing like that. This was the example with the same 100K MEC limit. We're only paying in 50K per year. Let me actually go up just a click here, because this is something good to provide from an awareness standpoint. What did it grow to before I start taking income? There we go. So 40, almost 41K in income. And then this guy, 42,000 in income per year. This was the example with the 5K base and 50K MEC limit. Why the difference is not drastic between these two, if you look at the cash value, you're about $35,000 with a difference there. Why it's not that drastic is mainly because one, he's 35, and this is 30 years down the road, but what we did, he funded it for 5 years. And then for 2 years, policy years 6 and 7, the premium was still due. In this example, he had a $10,000 base premium. It was due, but he didn't pay it. The dividends and interest paid it for him. In this example, it's a 5K base premium. But in both scenarios, because we only showed a 5-year funding period here, we went reduced paid up in year 8, which really levels the playing field. We chopped the premium off. So now, both policies are equal in terms of growth rate over time. You'll see a higher death benefit in this one. You can scroll back up. But my point is, this is a long-winded explanation to when we start to take out income, it's not a huge difference between the two. But again, that's because we've got a long wait period. So Hopefully, I do hope that you enjoyed this one. I had a ton of fun with it. If you have questions, or if you'd like to see any custom scenarios, custom illustrations, connect with us, talk cash value life insurance and how it fits into your overall plan, feel free to reach out anytime, call or email us. And as always, I hope this helps. Thanks so much. Hey guys, Steve Parisi here. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for future videos. If you'd like more information or to see some custom policies for yourself, feel free to call or email our offices at the contact information below.